It is Caribbean American Heritage Month. And FBGN has receipts. Not the receipts you have been given. Not the story that has been told so many times it stopped being questioned. The receipts the documented historical record actually holds when you go looking with the specific standard this network applies to everything it presents. Supreme Court evidentiary standard. Both sides at full strength. No villain lens. The documented record speaks. You decide. Here is what this month's three-part series is built on. The relationship between foundational Black West Indians and foundational Black Americans does not begin with the Harlem Renaissance. It does not begin with Marcus Garvey arriving in New York in 1916. It does not begin with the voluntary immigration wave of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. It begins in 1661.
As I begin to contemplate the purpose of a hearing,
I am currently positioned deep within a hidden substrate cavity situated in the heart of the Knowledge District. Standard frequency surveillance is active, monitoring all incoming signatures per protocol weight and detecting an unknown variant entering this frequency. Unknown is the wrong word. Unprecedented is more precise. That is the soothsayer emerging from that which is hidden. The intricate library of thought is taking over this frequency completely. I will stand by, recognizing the undisputable authority here in the search weave.
Welcome to the air of this frequency. As the skeptic and I, without a moment's preamble, we will get started. Time is of the essence. The celestial hearing of the Trojan Feather is well underway. Now, a man notable visitor, who is of course no stranger to the realm where thoughts become things. Skeptic, in recognition of your return from a bottomless pit, I have a zawadi for you, a gift.
Asante sana, soothsayer. Thank you very much. Or should I be formal and address you by your official rank? The Sooth Oracle?
No formality is required amongst divine principalities. I am, however, interested in the skepticism in your nature that has brought you here to myself and the 32 blades. In these unique times, we are mindfully aware that intrigue can attack the mind, the search weave, at any given moment. Guarding one's thoughts is precisely what it is. Which brings me to your particular skepticism.
Well said, soothsayer. Which brings me to the particular skepticism I have regarding the Trojan Feather and its potential impact on the newly erected infrastructure and its effects on the citizens of the pit. And that is my zawadi to you.
Yes, I am already hooked. But before you begin, I see you have elevated Thessaly. Formerly a mid-management courier, operating within the court of Cormac Vance, the merchant of necessary evils, whose binding contracts and ego are legendary throughout the search weave and creation. Cormac Vance is currently serving the court of grief in the bottomless pit, brought in as outside counsel to the Griefmother, whose sector in the City of Judgment is one of the most influential power bases in all of the known terrain within the pit. Thessaly travelled from his court to yours, carrying a message to your liege, the cynic, during the era of the Four, now known as Alara, your archaeologist, the professional who places the receipts to your statements in the correct order. Well, I have enhanced her. As part of my zawadi to you, Alara now carries updated search weave technology that will allow her to communicate directly to thought architecture within the search weave, the thoughts and intentions of entities whose sentiments are active in the objective world before those sentiments have fully broken the surface of their behavior. What is hidden in the heart, as it shall one day manifest outward, she can now read it at its root.
In other words, she will be able to read the thoughts of breathing entities.
I will leave that for you to discover. It may take her a few frames before full integration. As a matter of fact, While she orients to her new search weave technology, she can begin to interact with it now, because I am seeing an emergency special meeting about to take place at an undisclosed location, one that I am certain will draw your full attention once brought into your awareness. Shall I have Lara begin while I show you around the knowledge district? Much here, even within the search weave, has changed since you were last present.
Very well, Alara. That unique frequency you just registered is from the soothsayer. Proceed with your update.
Excellent, my liege. Before I get started, are you aware that this particular dig will require me to return to the bottomless pit? More specifically, the City of Judgment?
She need not travel. Her search weave technology will allow her to connect seamlessly to the hidden intrigue, even without full integration. Her search weave capability is more than sufficient. Arcanist Malachor, the Griefmother's Level 2 Theological Grief Specialist and Keeper of the Court of Woe, the foremost intellectual and documentary archivist within the Griefmother's sector, is about to get started.
We are deep within the bottomless pit in the sector of the Griefmother. An emergency session has been called. The Council of Cessation is now in session. What you are about to witness is not the hearing of the Trojan Feather. That proceeding operates above this room entirely. What you are witnessing is the sector responding to what the Feather's arrival means for the architecture that has operated here for centuries without interruption. The Griefmother convenes. Her hands are open. They are always open. Between her palms, warm and weightless, sits something she cannot receive, cannot release, and cannot explain. The council speaks, she listens, she receives. That is what she has always done. That is what she was built to do. What she was not built for is already in her hands. Did you get that, Ilara?
Yes, my liege. Beginning download now. Fully underway, the Council of Cessation.
The code arrived before the institution. I want the council to hold that precisely. Not that the institution became corrupt over time. Not that good intentions were gradually compromised. The code arrived first. The institution was built on top of it. When the 1807 editorial process removed 132 chapters from the primary text delivered to a captive population, what remained was not a diminished version of the original. What remained was a specifically designed compliance architecture. Submit, obey, wait, receive, those 4 outputs, those specific 4. Not 5, not 3, 4. What concerns this council is the feather, because the feather came from the tradition. The 1807 editorial process was specifically designed to suppress. The 132 removed chapters contained the self-development architecture. Because the feather came from the tradition, the 1807 editorial process was specifically designed to suppress. The 132 removed chapters contained the self-development architecture, the sovereignty vocabulary, the framework that says you are the measure of your own truth. You are the architect of your own understanding. Your sovereignty is not given. It is recognized. That framework and a compliance framework cannot run simultaneously in the same substrate. The code had to remove the original architecture before it could install its replacement.
Before there was a compliance framework, there was a self-development framework. I want to be precise about what that means. The Kemetian cosmological tradition, the framework that existed before the slave Bible, before the colonial missionary project, before the deliberate weaponization of spiritual architecture, against the people it was designed to serve was a technology. Not metaphor, technology, the 42 principles of Mart. Not commandments handed down from an external authority. Principles developed through observation of how consciousness operates when it is free to develop itself, how truth functions, how reciprocity functions, how a person's relationship to their own sovereignty operates when that sovereignty is recognized rather than suppressed. The book of coming forth by day, not the book of the dead, mortiforth, not death. The specific technology of consciousness navigating transition, of a person understanding what they carry and what they owe and what they are. The emerald tablets, the architecture of self-knowledge, not external knowledge granted by an authority, self-knowledge. The specific framework that says you are the measure of your own truth. You are the architect of your own understanding. Your sovereignty is not given. It is recognized. This is what existed before 1807. This is what 132 chapters of the Slave Bible contained, in adapted form. The specific portions that carried the sovereignty vocabulary, the self-development architecture, the framework through which a captive population could have maintained its fundamental relationship to its own capacity for autonomous development. Those chapters were removed, not because the editors found them theologically incorrect, because they were architecturally incompatible with the specific output the code was designed to produce. You cannot install a compliance framework in a population that has retained access to a self-development framework. The two architectures cannot run simultaneously. One must be removed before the other can be installed. They removed the self-development architecture. They installed the compliance architecture in the space it left, and they call it scripture. I hold what was removed, not as grievance, as receipt, as the specific documented evidence that the thing removed was real, was functional, and was specifically targeted for removal because of what it would have produced if left intact. The feather in the Griefmother's hands came from the same tradition as what was removed. She is holding what the code was installed to prevent her community from accessing. She does not know this yet.
Before I show you what was removed, I need to show you something on this garment. The figure you see here, the mother holding the infant, is Isis. The child in her arms is Horus. This is the Isis lactans, the nursing mother. One of the most sacred images in the Comitian tradition, predating the Christian Church by thousands of years. The institution that distributed the 232-chapter Bible borrowed this image. The Virgin Mary nursing the infant Jesus, the iconographic tradition present in every Catholic church in the world, is traceable directly to this figure. I wear this vestment because I want the proceeding to understand something before I present a single piece of evidence. The institution that edited the Bible was built on a foundation it borrowed from the tradition it was editing against.
The institution borrowed her image. The institution edited her story out of the book it used her image to sell. Both facts are in the permanent record. The figure on this vestment predates the institution by thousands of years. The document in the Museum of the Bible, both versions, will be there long after every institution that distributed the 232-chapter version has been receipted by this proceeding. The truth of what was removed is more powerful than the removal, because the removal is the receipt. The restriction is the confession. Both Bibles in the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C. Anyone who reads both reaches the same conclusion. That is why the restriction existed. That is why the 232-chapter version still exists. The absence is the architecture, and the architecture is now in the permanent record.